Do you want to be part of something bigger? At Siemens, we use AI to transform the everyday. Our engineering solutions drive innovation and change. We're leading in technology and building a sustainable future. Join Siemens and make an impact to transform the everyday. Apply now and be part of something extraordinary. Visit siemens.co.in/careers.
The following is a presentation of News Radio KMAN, your home for high school sports. This is Scoreboard Saturday on News Radio KMAN.
Well. I don't know why I use so many wells there, but we are back, ladies and gentlemen. After 6 months of hibernation outside of the K-Man studio. Okay, not really. I went home and obviously lived a life once in a while. But I'm trying to play up the scene here, folks, if you get my point. We are back on Scoreboard Saturday, another season of Scoreboard Saturday here on News Radio KMAN. AJ Shaw with you here, my second season behind the microphone. I'm surprised they let me back in. No, in all seriousness, it's a pleasure to be back, giving you the latest scores and interviews from across the beautiful Flint Hills. Really appreciate Mitch Fortner for giving me the opportunity to host this great program once more. We haven't talked to you guys. Coming up on Monday, it'll be 6 months. Our last episode was March 9th. That was the final basketball episode of the season, and we didn't do one for baseball, and then, of course, summertime, but I'm back behind the mic. If this is your first time listening to Scoreboard Saturday, first off, welcome to the program. Glad to have you today. We talk high school football on this show at this time of the year. Later on in the year, we talk high school basketball. We cover the Centennial League, the NCKL, the Big East League. It's no longer the Mid-East League, and we'll tell you why in just a moment. And also the Twin Valley League. We give you the scores, and we give you interviews from the best coaches and players across the region that you know and love, all in an hour. Really excited again to get another season started. Of course, we're starting a little bit earlier today. Typically, we get underway at 8 a.m., but with K-State football playing Tulane, the Green Wave, at 11 today. We got Power Cat Game Day right after this. Also on our sister station, 101.5 K-Rock. Mitch Fortner, Zach Nemechek, Tim Everson, Cole Manback, and Mason Voth will have you covered the next 2 hours after here, and then we'll get you out to network coverage starting at 9 with the voice of the Cats, Wyatt Thompson, Stan Weber, and Matt Walters down in New Orleans as K-State looks to go 2-0 and get revenge for that upset loss they were dealt by the Green Wave 2 years ago. And if we have a little bit of time, I may give you my thoughts for the game tomorrow, but let's first start off with what we start off with every single week, and that is the Centennial League and the Manhattan Indians. Coach Joe Schartz's team, the champions of 6A 2 years ago, came up short to Derby in the third round of the playoffs last year, beginning their season on the road in Garden City, a 4-hour trek to Garden City last night as they look to start their season off on the right foot. And Mitch Fortner and Cole Dutchendorf were on the call for that one down in Garden City last evening between them and Manhattan.
Week 1, Manhattan High goes on the road to take on Garden City out of the WAC, and it was complete dominance. Manhattan scores 8 touchdowns in the first half to lead 57-0. It was Garden City with 3 touchdowns in the second half, but final score, Manhattan 1-0 now in the season as they beat Garden City by the final 57-21. I'm Mitch Fortner, Cole Dutchendorf. Cole has the final numbers in this blowout for Manhattan.
Yeah, and that first half included 386 total yards for Manhattan. Kamario Davis had 6 rushes in that first half or 2 touchdowns and 70 yards. Carter Aslan on just 5 rushes had 4 touchdowns and 130 yards for 26 yards per carry. J.J. Dunnigan also very involved in the offense. 2 rushes, 45 yards, as well as 2 catches for 34. Speaking of the passing game, Carter Aslan, 4 for 7, 131 yards and 2 touchdowns. Connected on a 69-yard touchdown to Ryland Vikander, the tight end, as well as a 26-yard touchdown to Jaden Hudley. So again, 386 yards in the first half, total of 434. Finn Watson, the backup quarterback, had a nice connection in that second half to Max Henry of 40 yards. He finished 3 for 4, 53 yards. Going to Garden City, they didn't have a lot to speak of for stats, only 90 yards in that first half. They did add a few in that second half, especially with the JV in as they kept the varsity in for the bulk of the game. Mario Ruiz, their starting running back, had 13 carries, 167 yards, and 1 touchdown of 79 yards. That took place in that fourth quarter. And starting quarterback Ethan Gomez, 5 rushes, 32 yards, went 9 for 17 for 74 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. So again, Manhattan outgaining Garden City 434 to 273, but in the first half, it was 386 to just 90.
8 touchdowns in the first half for Manhattan, and like Cole said, Carter Aslan accounts for 6 of them. 4 rushing touchdowns, 49 yards, 5 yards, 23 yards, and 51 yards. Just absolute dominance for the Indians in Week 1. Week 2 has the Indians going home, as they'll open up home play at Bishop Stadium as they host Lawrence Free State, who beat Shawnee Mission East on Friday by the final score of 12-3. That'll be a Thursday game at 7 o'clock with pregame coverage at 6:30. Complete dominance for Manhattan High. They go to 1-0 as they beat Garden City on the road in Finney County by the final score of 57-21. For Cole Dutchendorf, I'm Mitch Fortner for Scoreboard Saturday.
And appreciate you there very much, gentlemen. And speaking of that next matchup, Lawrence Free State out of the Sunflower League comes in next Thursday night as Manhattan High trying to accommodate for K-State, who, of course, plays next Friday evening at the Bill against Arizona. So that will be a battle of a couple of top teams in 6A. Lawrence Free State in the preseason media poll coming out from Charles Cheney with the Butler County Times-Gazette, good guy. They come in at second entering the season in 6A. They actually got 1 vote for the top spot. Derby, who was the state champs last year, coming in at 1. And Manhattan comes in at 5th. For the season in that ranking, but they have not received a first-place vote. So that will be a top 5 matchup next week, and Lawrence Free State were winners last night in their opening game of the season as they were able to take down Shawnee Mission East by a 12-3 score. If that was a baseball game, we'd be saying that's a blowout for one side, but it's football. That's a defensive slugfest as Kevin Stewart's team will take on Manhattan. And then they got to take on Mill Valley, who is the number 1 team in 5A and the defending 5A state champion. So they got 2 tough games back-to-back on the road at Manhattan next Thursday, and then 8 days after that on September 20th, taking on Mill Valley. A little bit of a lighter schedule. After that, they got to take on Olathe Northwest the following week, but those are 2 big road games, I'm sure, for the Firebirds, and they're going to want to have to come in to Manhattan next week and pick up a victory. After the ball game, Mitch Fortner and Toby Hamas with the Manhattan Mercury spoke with Manhattan head coach Joe Schartz.
Yes, first off, so 35-0 after the first quarter. Did you expect to come out and kind of dominate like that off the bat?
No, I mean, we had so many injuries coming in here and struggled with consistency with the heat schedule and practice, and it's just really hard to tell going against yourself all the time in practice what you truly have. We were replacing 9 starters on defense and only had 1 lineman back from either side of the ball, so we had a lot of holes to fill, and the feedback from this game is that some of those holes have been filled.
Sorry, my mind went blank there. What do you feel like allowed the team to be so dominant right away? What did you see?
Well, I tell you, it's obviously we've been able to go against pretty good looks in practice. There's some of the things that Garden City was trying to do that our defense has seen so many times because we do similar things, and they were able to diagnose it and get tackles for loss, and but also to credit to my coaching staff. I have a really good coaching staff. Was able to get all these kids coached up, ready to go, and so hopefully the job now is not to pat ourselves on the back too much, and we got a short week to get ready for Free State, and so we got to get in, and we're still doing first. All right, we got to get home, and we got to break down this film, and we got to watch the film, and then now all of a sudden we got to get ready for Free State in 3 days, which we've had the whole entire summer to get ready for Garden City. So a lot of firsts still with this team, but we're headed in the right direction.
I'd love to know your thoughts about the guys on the back end of the defense. There's a lot of new names, a lot of new guys, even some starters that were down in that back end, and they tried to test you a little bit. And Gomez has an accurate ball. What do you think about the coverage of your defense tonight?
Well, we've developed some depth back there, and there's lots of young kids back there, and We had a senior back there that was starting, Makai Michaelis, and did a nice job filling in for Fabian and Logan Lagerman and Fabian Clark who were injured, and did a real nice job. There's some other young kids, Nisbig Johnson was here, went to school here and moved away, and he's come back, and he's been a big shot in the arm for us. Joe Mortenson's done a real nice job as well, and so there's some young kids back there. Obviously JJ's back there too, and JJ's a weapon on both sides of the ball, and defensively we're going to move JJ around and put him where he's most needed, and with him back there, sure gives everybody else a lot of confidence.
You went deep ball twice with JJ back-to-back plays. What'd you think about? Because I wouldn't imagine you were completely shocked about how well he can play on offense, but what'd you just think of like the route running and the speed? And he's got that talent, doesn't he?
Well, he does, and even one of the balls he caught was a tip ball, and we've seen him do that all the time. If the ball's in his area, whether or not it's tipped or it's a good ball or not, he's going to catch it. And there's a lot of things that he can do, and we try to get him the ball a lot of different ways and move him around, and definitely a weapon.
I know you mentioned before the game you weren't sure if they were going to stick with their running attack or passing attack this year, Garden City. How'd you feel your defense ended up attacking them?
They did a real nice job. Lots of pressure on the quarterback. I think they wanted to spread it out and throw the ball a little bit. I think they wanted to mix the run and pass, but once we jumped out on them, they were just shocked and couldn't really do anything. I think they have a good offensive line and a quality running back, and I think maybe from now on they might focus on running the football a little bit more.
Looking at the short week, what do you do? How much does that affect your guys' game plan? How do you get the guys ready to go on a short week?
It's rough. It's real rough. We're going to get home at 2:30, 3 o'clock. I'm letting the kids sleep in tomorrow, but luckily we don't normally practice on Sundays, but because it's a short week, we have to practice on Sunday to get ready to go. And luckily our administration was willing to do that, and this is something we don't want to do on a consistent basis, but they realize that our kids need to get prepared, and so we're going to put in some work as a team on Sunday, and because of the short week, that Sunday practice has to be a Saturday practice where we put the Garden City game to bed, and then we also have to get out there and start implementing the game plan for Free State already. So,
last one for me. I don't know how many times I've ever seen you rock the khaki shorts on the sideline. What's the temperature got to be to not go pants? I saw some of your staff wearing some pants. I was like, that may be a little too hot for that.
I just try to relax. It seems like the last few years, the first games or whatever, I've worn shorts. Coach Small makes fun of me. It was the last time I had on athletic shorts with a polo shirt down at Derby, but that was the first game in 2022 when we beat them in overtime. So it worked. So I'm going to stick with what works.
All right, Coach. Thank you for your time.
And appreciate Mitch Fortner and Toby Hamas from the Manhattan Mercury. Hope you guys got home safe and sound last night after that 4+ hour trek back from Garden City. We got to take our first time out here on Scoreboard Saturday, but when we come back, we'll get you through the rest of the Centennial League as well as the NCKL. Lots of games to go through. And, of course, then we'll preview in our third segment last night's B1047 Carpet One of Manhattan Game of the Week between Riley County and Jefferson West. That's all coming your way next on Scoreboard Saturday, brought to you by WTC Communications. Back here on Scoreboard Saturday, News Radio KMAN on this September the 7th, 2024. Glad to have you with us today. If you are up with us early, of course, if you do miss any of the show, we have a podcast. Just type in News Radio KMAN's Scoreboard Saturday, wherever you get your podcasts, and hit that follow button, and you'll never miss an episode. We try to get them up as soon as the show comes to an end. But again, check us out, our podcast. We started that up last basketball season, and yeah, it's definitely something that we are very happy to have. We continue now in the Centennial League, and then we'll jump over to the NCKL here in just a few moments. We mentioned Manhattan High winning 57-21 over Garden City last night. Another Centennial League team in 6A, the Junction City Blue Jays, they started their season off red hot as well. Randall Zimmerman's team defeating Campus, which is out of Hayesville, 55-0 last night, a shutout for a Blue Jay team that is really looking to do some damage, and they've always had their problems in Centennial League play with Manhattan. Last year they came to the Little Apple on October the 6th, and they got crushed 38-7. Junction City had really an up-and-down year last year, if you recall. They had a solid record in district. They were 5-3, 6-4 overall, but they went 500 in league play. That included losses to Washburn Rural and Manhattan, but victories over Topeka High and Emporia. They ended up, however, losing to Washburn Rural in the postseason, the second round of the postseason, 27-20, in what was Michael Boganowski's final season at Junction City, and now he's down in Oklahoma. But they've had their problems with Manhattan for sure. Last 2 years, only able to put up a single touchdown in the matchups. So Randall Zimmerman's team, when they take on the Tribe on the 27th of this month, yeah, they're going to be looking for some revenge because they definitely want to get revenge on the Manhattan Indians. Other games to take a look at, Topeka Hayden, who's always one of the top teams in the state of Kansas, out of 3A, led by head coach Bill Arnold. Eudora taking them on last night, and they ended up losing to the Wildcats of Topeka Hayden, 35-7 for the team out of 3A, the defending state champions. They take on a school from Missouri next week, a private school, looks like St. Michael, the Archangel, will be their team. And then a couple weeks from now, they're going to head to Wamego for a big ball game on the 27th. That could be a game with some pretty high implications in the state of Kansas for a 3A team in the Topeka Hayden Wildcats. As for the Topeka High Trojans, a team that scuffled last year, to say the least, they were able to down Wichita West last night by a score of 52-19. Big stretch coming up for them really in October. Washburn Rural at home, Junction City on the road, and then Manhattan at home through the 4th of October through the 18th. Those are going to be 3 very tough games for them. 2 of those games, however, are at Hummer Park, so they start the season 1-0. As for the Junior Blues of Washburn Rural, they were winners as well last night, took down Shawnee Heights in a high-scoring game as Steve Bueller's team wins at 42-21. They got Blue Valley next week, then they got a road game in Missouri 2 weeks from last night in Platte County. That's a team out of Missouri. Then Blue Valley Northwest is going to come in on the 27th of this month. The only team to lose last night in Centennial League, across the Centennial League, is going to be the Emporia Spartans out of 5A, Caden Glinsman's team, dropping a contest at Pittsburgh, 56-13. So the Spartans begin their season 0-1. They're at home next week against Wichita West. They got 3 consecutive games at home. Wichita West next week, Coffeyville, Kinley the following week, and then they open up the conference schedule on our league schedule. I sometimes forget it's league, not conference. Topeka High on the 27th. They'll come to Manhattan on October the 4th. They have 3 straight road games in October, at Manhattan, at Washburn Rural, and then at Spring Hill in a district contest, and then they'll wrap up their season at home against Junction City. So pretty good night last night for the Centennial League outside of one team. As, a good start to the season. Of course, Manhattan High, as we mentioned in the last segment, were winners last evening down in Garden City. They got Lawrence Free State next week. We'll jump now over to the NCKL. Of course, that's where we'll be headed next week over on B1047, myself and Troy Coverdale. We'll start off with the Wamego Red Raiders, the host team of next week's matchup with Rock Creek. Winners over Concordia last night, 41-8, Weston Moody's team. That I can tell you they're hell-bent on winning a state championship. Lost the state title game 2 years ago, lost the state semifinal game last year at home. This is a team that wants to win, and they definitely have some new faces in there this year. New quarterback, new running game a little bit, but they take care of business against Concordia in a league game. They got Rock Creek, as we mentioned, next. Big ball game between two of the top teams in the state, and it's about bloody time that Rock Creek is in the NCKL and taking on Wamego every single year. That rivalry is fantastic, and we'll have head coach Weston Moody and head coach Shane Sieben, two great guys and two great friends of the show, on next week after that ball game. So Wamego starts their season off with a record of 1-0. As for the Mustangs of Rock Creek, winners at home last night over Bishop Ward. Don't know why I said tonight there. My apologies. Nobody's playing on a Saturday, at least from our knowledge. Bishop Ward, they won 63-7. They got Wamego and Bonner Springs on the road over the next 2 weeks. But then Abilene and Clay Center. A couple good ball games in there, mainly the Clay Center game on the 4th of October. And then 2 of the final 3 games of the season will be on the road at Marysville and at Concordia back-to-back, and then they wrap up their season with Chapman. So winners over Bishop Ward last night for Rock Creek. As for Chapman, the Fighting Irish, we'll be seeing them a little bit later on this season. In fact, 2 weeks from now when they head out to take on Riley County on the road. They win a ball game 10-8 over Smith Center. Yeah, 10-8 the final score. We had a lot of low-scoring games across the state of Kansas last night. They have Abilene next on their schedule, and then as mentioned, Riley County. Clay Center follows that, then on the road at Concordia, and then Wamego and Marysville at home before wrapping up their season on the road. Marysville, the Bulldogs, they were winners last night as well, taking down Nemaha Central. Wow, a shocking win for Tony Trimble's team over the defending champs in 3A. They've now moved down to 2A, but what a huge win for Nemaha Central over Nemaha Central last night. That's a shocker because Nemaha Central came in on a very lengthy winning streak. They went unbeaten last year. They went unbeaten the year before. And then back in 2021, they went 7-3. So they had won 26 consecutive games coming in, and the Thunder of Nemaha Central go down to defeat to Marysville. How about Tony Trimble's team? 16-8 the final in that one. We'll wrap up here quickly with Abilene and Concordia, both in the L column last night. Abilene falls in a contest to Clay Center. Tigers are going to be a good team this year for sure. We'll see them a few weeks from now on the B1047 Carpet One of Manhattan game of the week. 34-7 the final in that one. And then Concordia, as we mentioned, lost to Wamego 41-8. When we come back, we head over to the new Big East League. Riley County taking on Jefferson West last night. We'll have the highlights for you on that, as well as a discussion with head coach Erik Willimon from Riley County. It's all coming your way next on Scoreboard Saturday, brought to you by WTC Communications. WTC, keeping you connected with the fastest fiber network internet speeds. Get your home or business in the game with WTC, online at WTCKS.com. Halfway through the first episode of the new season of Scoreboard Saturday here on News Radio KMAN, brought to you by WTC Communications. Got to be one of the fastest internet providers I have seen in my life, and I have experienced a lot of high-speed internet, but WTC is keeping you connected with the fastest fiber network internet speeds. Get your home or business in the game with WTC, online at WTCKS.com. They've been a fantastic sponsor of ours for many years on this program, and we really do appreciate them once again sponsoring Scoreboard Saturday this season. We now head over east to the Big East League. It is no longer the Mid-East League. If you've been a longtime listener of the show and follower of high school sports in the region, that's because the Mid-East League and Big 7 leagues combined during the offseason to form the Big East League. So we've been talking about it, I know, college football fans, a lot of the super conferences and the prospect of that happening. Well, the same thing is happening in high school football here in the state of Kansas, as the Big East League is now a new league this year. And last night was the first game in the Big East League for Riley County against Jefferson West, our B1047 Carpet One of Manhattan game of the week. Myself and Troy Coverdale, your dos for him and myself on the call on those games. A lot of fun. And the Falcons come away with a 27-14 win. It sure didn't look that way at halftime for Erik Willimon's team. They had a 27-0 lead going into the break, But the second half, they just really struggled. Right off the bat, Jefferson West, the Tigers, got a 73-yard touchdown from quarterback Trevor Holhouse to Justin Payne that really got the scoring started. And the Tigers moved the ball very well in the second half. They did get one more touchdown, a 3-yard run from Unruh to make it a 27-14 game. But in the end, Holhouse, and I called him Trevor, it's actually Tucker Holhouse. My apologies if Mr. and Mrs. Holhouse are out there listening on this Saturday morning or listening on the podcast. Tucker Holhouse threw a costly interception that was intercepted by Jace Woodard, who had a big night on offense and defense for Riley County as the Falcons start 1-0 on the season. But the bad news for Riley County is quarterback Eli Harmison may be out for a while. He was hit in the middle of the third quarter, left the game with what appeared to be a right ankle injury. When we spoke with Coach Willimon, as you'll hear in a minute, they have no clue what the injury is yet, but it looks like he's going to get x-rays. And, he was after the game, he was on crutches and had a cast on, a boot on, and it did not look good from initially. And, boy, if Eli Harmison, the senior quarterback, is out for Riley County, that could be a huge issue for that team as he is one of their leaders. On the night, though, before Harmison came out, he looked very sharp, 6 of 8 passing, 120 yards and 2 touchdowns. But the key in the game, the player of the game this season, the Manhattan record player of the game, was Sam Allen. 29 carries for 123 yards and a touchdown last night. Jace Woodard pitched in with 4 catches for 71 yards. So the big three, the 3 senior leaders on that Riley County team came to play. But the injury to Eli Harmison, definitely a tough one, and we'll talk to Coach here in just a second. Tucker Holhouse, 11 of 22 for 192, a touchdown and a pick for Jefferson West last night. And Jason Payne, who I mentioned, 5 catches for 127 and that long 73-yard touchdown. As I mentioned, after the ballgame, had an opportunity to chat with Coach Erik Willimon. Coach, obviously it's a somber win for you guys tonight with Eli Harmison. What's the status on your quarterback?
We don't know yet. It's really early, so that's it on that.
All right. Yeah, I saw he had a brace on his ankle, so obviously hoping it's not for the worst.
Yeah, it's really early. I'm not going to speculate on anything like that. So,
get into the game, obviously. Big night for your defense in the first half. You guys really capitalized off of the short field and a couple of mistakes that they made.
Yeah, the guys were rallying around the ball. Credit to the defense, coaches for coaching them up. We were able to get some movement up front. We have some quick guys up there that were causing some problems. They had a couple of miscues with snaps, so we were fortunate with that. We were able to capitalize on that. Would have liked to have that field goal at the end, but it is what it is.
How big an impact is a player like Sam Allen for you as a senior and as a guy that you can really rely on in your run game?
Oh, he's huge, and it's not just Sam. You look at all of our seniors, the guys that, whether they're starting or they're coming in contributing. You go down the list of our senior guys that have been in the program for 4 years, and some guys that just have come out in the last couple of years. And so it's a testament to them to handle the adversity, to deal with whatever comes within a football game, and to rally around each other, play for them. They're playing for each other, and that's what carried the day today.
You go on the road to Jefferson. On the road here tonight to play Jefferson West. First time for you guys in the new conference. Definitely some new experiences for you guys this year. Next week you got Holton, another team that you haven't played a lot in the past.
I don't believe we've ever played Holton, so we're looking forward to that matchup. Looking forward to being at home. That's a tough test with Coach Barta up there, perennial powerhouse, and we know that they're going to bring everything they got, and we hope to rally and bounce back and give them everything we got too.
Final question from me. How proud are you of the senior class? I know you guys have been together now for 4 years. You're going into your 4th season here now. You guys have been together these last 4 years. How proud of you are your senior class?
I can't put a measurement on how proud I am and how much these guys mean to me. I've watched these guys grow up, from a long time ago, and they mean a lot to me, to the community, obviously to their families and to the school. And so hats off to them for, making big plays the way Sammy finished, Jason's big interception, Brett coming in there making some big stops, having that heck of a catch down there on the, on the end line. And, just too many to name. It's credit to them, credit to their families for raising such good boys.
Ravens last night wish they could have had the catch that he made back at the end zone right there, I'm sure.
Yeah, too bad they didn't, though.
Appreciate you. And that was Coach Erik Willimon. Yeah, we all saw what happened with the Chiefs. And I got SportsCenter on in the corner right now, and Angel Reese hit a 3. Don't know how she did it, but apparently Angel Reese hit a 3. So that's kind of the big story right now. But yeah, obviously we send our thoughts and prayers out to quarterback Eli Harmison. Hopefully the injury he suffered last night was not a serious one, but it did not look good when he went down, had to be helped off the field and was in crutches. And yeah, your heart breaks, especially for a senior quarterback who may have played his last high school game. We'll get you the scoring here really quickly from last night's game. It started off in the first quarter. It was a relatively quiet first quarter. Big kickoff return by Jace Woodard right out of the gate for Riley County. And then on a 3rd and 21, Harmison hit him on the slug route, a 41-yard touchdown to Woodard to give them a 7-0 lead. Then in the second quarter, Riley County exploded. Big mistakes made, a couple of fumbles, a couple of penalties, good field position, a missed 4th down conversion by Jeff West, and Sam Allen was able to punch in a 2-yard touchdown to make it 14-0. Then off of a fumbled snap, that came later in the game. My apologies. Then Harmison, as mentioned, threw that big touchdown to Brett Hopper in the back of the end zone. As I mentioned, Isaiah Likely, it would have been something had he done the same thing. 34-yard touchdown pass from Harmison, his second of the game. And then Harmison capped off the second quarter scoring with the 1-yard touchdown. Then in the second half, it was just all Jefferson West. Tucker Holhouse with the touchdown to Jason Payne, and then Unruh with the 3-yard run. And that was the scoring last night in Riley County and Jeff West. As I mentioned, next week's B1047 Carpet One of Manhattan game of the week will be Rock Creek at Wamego. Great ball game as those two teams now in the NCKL together. When we come back, we'll wrap up the show with scores from the rest of the Big East League as well as the Twin Valley League from last evening. It's all coming your way next on Scoreboard Saturday, brought to you by WTC Communications. Final segment of the show on this Saturday, Scoreboard Saturday on News Radio KMAN. AJ Shaw with you here. As mentioned earlier on in the program, PowerCat Game Day coming your way just after this program. Mitch Fortner, Zach Nemechek, Tim Everson, Cole Manbeck, and Mason Voth from 7 to 9 here on News Radio KMAN and also 101.5 K-Rock. It's the best pregame show in the Big 12 for a reason, and you definitely want to check it out as the boys preview K-State against Tulane. And earlier this week on the game, I predicted that K-State would get the victory over Tulane, although I am a little worried remembering how that game 2 years ago went down in Manhattan. But the big game now I'm kind of more worried about is the game next week against Arizona, which will be going on at the same time. Our game, Rock Creek against Wamego, is going on B1047, the Carpet One of Manhattan game of the week. Let's get you through the Big East League real quickly as well as the Twin Valley League before we wrap up the show today. Again, it's a whole different league this season. I mentioned in the last segment, the Big Seven and the Big East, the Mid-East League came together and they were able to form it. I mentioned Nemaha Central earlier on the show. They lost last night 16-8 to Marysville. Tony Trimble's team ends Nemaha Central's 26-game winning streak that dated back 2 seasons. They hadn't lost since 2021. As for Royal Valley, one of the teams in the new Big East League, they defeated Hiawatha 18-13, the high school that our own Troy Coverdale used to call games for back in the day. As for another powerhouse in the Sabetha Blue Jays, big rival of Nemaha Central, if you know, they beat Holton 7-6. Again, what's up with these baseball scores? Low-scoring games across the state of Kansas last night, but Holton, who's now also part of the Big East League, they only scored 6 points. Sabetha's got Perry Lecompton next, and then Hiawatha after that. So the Blue Jays and Caleb Moeller start 1-0. As for Silver Lake, the War on 24 did not disappoint last night. The game, probably one of the best games in that rivalry ever happening last night, with Silver Lake coming up on top 33-26 in overtime over Rossville. Logan Pegram's team, who went 8-2 last year, lost to Sabetha in the second round of the playoffs, winning a incredible game against Rossville. That game went down to the wire, and probably the game of the night across the state of Kansas right there, that 2A battle. Rossville coming in with a lot of momentum. Silver Lake trying to make it 3 in a row in the rivalry, and the war on 24 goes to the Eagles. We'll be out in Silver Lake a little bit later this year for our B1047 Carpet One of Manhattan game of the week when they take on Riley County on October 11th. They got a tough contest, though, next week against a mad Nemaha Central team, ladies and gentlemen, who I just mentioned lost their 26-game winning streak last evening, had been unbeaten 2 straight years. How about the St. Mary's Bears, who have made the move up to 2A after spending the last few years in 1A, in fact, winning a championship in 1A just a couple years ago. Perry Lee Compton was their victim last night, a 30-6 win, and now St. Mary's takes on a Rossville team who is mad as hell and wants to get a victory. I mentioned Nemaha Central earlier. We mentioned Hiawatha and Holton, Jefferson West, Perry Lee Compton. So that is the look at the Big East League, and right now Riley County sitting at the top. Yeah, there's a bunch of other teams tied with them, but Riley County sitting at the top right now in pretty good position after that win. And next week for them, Holton. They play another team they're not familiar with, and if you heard Coach Willimon's interview in the last segment, they've probably never played Holton ever from his recollection. So that's going to definitely be a tough matchup for them, and we'll be back out in Riley 2 weeks from last night when they take on Chapman. Folks, we now will wrap up the program, and I know a lot of you are sad that I'm saying this with the Twin Valley. Well, some of you are just saying, get this guy the heck off the radio. I want to hear Power Cat Game Day and K-State football. To those who don't say that, and I know you all love me, I'm just messing around. I like to get hard on myself once in a while. But with the Twin Valley League, we'll start off with the Axtell Eagles. Folks, this team is incredible. They haven't lost a game in 3 years. 3-time defending state champions. Eric Detweiler's team destroys Lynn, 76-6. The Bulldogs just stood no chance last night as Axtell begins their season 1-0. They have the longest win streak in the state now that Andill's winning streak came to an end last year in that loss to Cheney in middle October, 36-30. As for our 2 area teams, Blue Valley Randolph will start off with the Rams. Win last night over Washington County on the road, 42-14. Quentin Craven's team starting the year 1-0, and they're back on the road again next week at Lynn. Casey East Christian then follows them the week after that. That'll be their first home game of the season. As for the Wildcats of Frankfort, the defending champs in girls basketball, shout out to head coach Brian Ebert and his team. Clifton Clyde was their victim last night, Nick Anderson's team, downing the Eagles of Clifton Clyde 70-34. That game was 50-22 at the half, if I recall correctly, as Frankfort begins their season with a 1-0 record. Hanover did not have a league game last night, but they did win their non-league game against El Saline, 34-16, Matt Hoyer's team, starting the season 1-0, and they have Clifton Clyde on the docket next week. And that's going to do it for the Twin Valley League. Let's see if we have a little bit of time left. Yeah, we got a bit of time here to squeeze in for you folks some of the media rankings for this week. I mentioned Charles Cheney in the beginning of the program tonight with his media poll, which I think is just stellar. The media poll, probably one of the things I go to almost immediately every single week. Charles with the Butler County Times-Gazette. I'd love to get him on the show one of these days. That'd be definitely an interesting conversation to see kind of how that media poll is, and he does some great coverage. If you're out in Butler County or you're ever out there, want to pick up a newspaper, definitely read his stuff because he's got some great stuff. He does a great job really following all the high school stuff. But we mentioned earlier on the show in 6A, the defending state champions, Derby at the top. Lawrence Free State winners last night. They're taking on Manhattan next week at 2. Lawrenson at 3. Gardner Edgerton at 4 with Manhattan at 5. Wichita Northwest at 6. Blue Valley Northwest coming in at 7. Yeah, 6-5 record, but they had a very tough schedule last year, and plus they have that pedigree. Wichita East 8. Olathe North 9th. Blue Valley West at 10. Washburn Rural was the closest, coming in with 11 votes in that. Mill Valley, the big champs out of 5A, they come in at 1 with Aquinas at 2. Actually, Aquinas moved up, if you recall. They were in 4A last year. They won the state title. Then they move up 1 rank. So they come in at 2. Blue Valley 3. Blue Valley Southwest 4. Great Bend 5. DeSoto 6th. Goddard Eisenhower 7. Maize South 8th. Also tied with Hutchinson and Hayes coming in at 10th. Bishop Carroll the closest to receiving votes. In 4A, Bishop Miege now holds that top spot with Aquinas no longer in 4A, Andover Central at 2, with Cape and Mount Carmel at 3, Wellington at 4, Bueller at 5, McPherson 6, Chanute 7th, Wamego, one of our area teams, coming in at 8th, Eudora at 9, and Tonganoxie coming in at 10. Cheney, number 1 in 3A, with Andale coming in at 2. First time in forever, it probably feels like, that Andale's not number 1. And then you got Topeka Hayden, 12-1 last year, coming in at 3, with Wichita Collegiate at 4, Rock Creek at 5, Scott City at 6, Frontenac at 7, Holton at 8, Heston at 9, and Clay Center at 10. We'll go quickly here with 2A, Nemaha Central 1, no surprise there. Hoisington at 2, Norton at 3, Southeast of Cillian 4, St. Mary's 5, Silver Lake 6, Osage City 7th, Sabetha 8th, Humboldt 9, and Council Grove coming in at 10. And then in 1A, we'll get 8-man, and then we should be done here. Conway Springs, Rossville, Medicine Lodge, Sedgwick. They're both tied, Medicine Lodge and Sedgwick. Jackson Heights, Centralia, St. Mary's, Colgan, Opie, and then Mound Ridge and Smith Center come in tied for 9. Wichita County at the top at 8-man 1, and Axtell at the top with Frankfort in second in 8-man 2. Folks, we have to wrap this thing up. We got Power Cat Game Day coming your way next. Really appreciate our great coaches sitting down with us. Appreciate you guys listening to my rambling this morning. All seriousness, though, it has been a pleasure. We'll be back again next week, 8 o'clock next week. No K-State football, so same time that we typically have it. We're a little bit earlier today because of K-State football. Power Cat Game Day is next. We out. Have a great Saturday. And, of course, go Cats.